Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. It is Feedback Friday. That's right. This is the time of the week that we pause and reflect on the things that we believe we can learn from feedback. So, for those of you who I am meeting for the very first time, my name is Dr. Shanita Williams. I consider myself a feedback enthusiast because I believe that if we have the key to understanding feedback, we truly have the keys to unlocking and unleashing our full potential. So I hope you guys had another great week this week. We know that this week we are actually heading into a really critical time in our nation's history as we move into the election here next week. So I know there's probably a lot on your mind as mine as well. And I just wanted to give you guys, I'm going to make this short and sweet. It won't be related to the election at all, but it is definitely related to feedback. And I hope that it's something that you can take and apply to your life. So thank you all for joining me this evening. So I want to tell you a quick little story. So I have 3 children, right? Ages 12, 9, and 5. Yes, I know, busy house. So oftentimes I find myself in a position where one of them will walk over and say, "Mom, so-and-so took this from me." Or, "Mom, so-and-so said I can't play with X." Now, here's the interesting thing. When you find yourself in that position, because I'm sure we all have, whether it's with our children or in the workplace with our employees, whether it's with our students, for those of you who are faculty or administrators, or just anyone. I think we find ourselves where you're not part of a situation, but somehow you become a third party witness to a situation. So when this happens, you actually have a few options. As a mom, I can call the other child in and say, "Hey, why did you take the toy from so-and-so?" Right? Or I can call the other child in and say, "Hey, give her the toy back." So what I want to talk about this week, because I think this is something we can all relate to, is what I call third-party feedback. That's right. When we get looped in and we become a third party, where we didn't actually witness something that happened, but someone brings us into the conversation. So have any of you ever found yourself in that situation where you are now a third party, someone who had not witnessed something, but now you're in this feedback exchange? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So here's what I want to give you guys some tips on. If you find yourself in a situation where someone comes to you with some third party feedback, you have a few options. So the first thing I want you to do is simply ask this question: how would you like me to use this data? Or how would you like me to help in this situation? We've all find ourselves in situations where someone calls you up or someone comes over and says, "I can't believe so-and-so did X, Y, and Z." The key thing for you as the third party is to get really, really clear about what your role is. So simply ask the question: what do you want my role to be in this? Or how can I help you in this situation? Because oftentimes what I find is we normally subscribe our own roles, right? We start saying, well, they're telling me this because they want me to get involved, right? Hence going back to the scenario with my kids. When my little one comes over and says, "This one took my toy," I'm thinking that she wants me to jump in and get her toy back, right? In the workplace, so-and-so, didn't put my name on the report, or so-and-so didn't accept the meeting invitation. Again, get clarity. What is my role in the situation? Try to resist the temptation to jump in and help and jump in and save. Challenge that person who's bringing you that information by just simply asking, what do you want my role to be? When you do that, you activate you move the conversation from a subconscious experience to a conscious experience. Oftentimes, we know when we are in a situation, we run to someone for help, or sometimes we just want to vent. So when you are the person who's not a part of the original situation, it's incumbent on you to be able to just ask them, what do you want my role to be? How can I help? And that will hopefully trigger their conscious mind to really dive in and go, okay, yeah, what do I want from this? Now, there are 3 things that I think you're going to find yourself in a situation around. You're going to have 3 options. The first, they're probably going to say, oh, I just wanted to give you this information because I need your help, right? And so if you find yourself in this situation where someone's saying, well, I'm telling you this because I need your help, this is actually a really unique situation to be in, because the key thing for you to remember is you are the third party. You were not a part of the original situation. So the feedback that you're getting, you can't fully own because it's coming from the perspective of someone else. So when you find yourself in a situation where someone says, well, I'm telling you this third party feedback, I'm giving you this feedback because I need your help, you want to do a few things. So first, you want to combine their insights with your own. That's right. I like to do things like, I'm going to hear you and you say, for example, this person is being really off-putting, this person is really mean, or this person is really disrespectful, or, they didn't really do their report very well, or whatever feedback you're giving me about someone. I'm going to pause and actually combine that data with some of my own. So you have the responsibility, both social and ethical, to actually do your homework when someone brings you third-party feedback. You can't simply just accept what they say, right? So your friend comes over and says, so-and-so did X, Y, and Z. We can't just hop in and say, yeah, that's terrible. We want to take that information and use whatever they share with us as a data point. And I said a data point because there's so much more data you want to collect. You want to think about aggregating that data along with all of your observations, your experiences with that individual. You also want to suspend approaching this individual, right? You want to suspend taking someone else's feedback and running to them and saying, so-and-so told me X. Because guess what? So-and-so could be wrong. So-and-so is telling you their version of the story. So that's why it's important that when someone comes to you, that you pause, you hear what they have to say, but you do your due diligence and make sure that you go out and seek your own information and combine that together. Now, here's the other thing that you want to do. This is why this is so important. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone brought information to you from a third party? Right? You know that feeling where someone goes, oh, Shanita, so-and-so said you were really upset in the meeting and you didn't like how it went. And I'm going, that's interesting. I wasn't upset in the meeting and I was actually fine with how it went. Have you ever been in that situation where someone brought you someone else's perspective and it was totally off base? Yeah, that happens. You don't want to be that person. So when you do take that information and you move forward to engage in a conversation, you want to make sure that you inquire and not accuse. Inquire, not assume. You can't assume that everything you've heard from someone else is fact. You fall into a very dangerous situation when you are going off of someone else's input on a situation. There's always 2 sides to a coin, 2 sides to a story, right? There's a front cover and a back cover. There's more information to be revealed. So you want to make sure that you do your due diligence. And when you actually approach the person, perhaps maybe it is your child. Maybe someone gave you third-party feedback about your child. You don't want to just walk into your home and say, why did your teacher tell me you turned your paper in late? Why did you, right? You want to inquire. It's a data point. Inquire, have a conversation, because you might find that there's another side of the story that gives you a much bigger picture. So again, 1, combine it with other insights. 2, make sure that you inquire and not accuse. The third thing you want to keep in mind if you're going to actually act on somebody else's feedback is you want to make sure that you avoid saying, so-and-so said. How many of you guys have ever been in that scenario where they start trying to quote someone else, right? And they say, well, Sarah said that you didn't turn it in on time, or Sarah said that you rolled your eyes when you were in the meeting, or Donnie said. How does that make you feel? I mean, be honest. When someone tells you what someone else said about you and they weren't even there, That's actually really, really difficult, a really difficult position to be in. And what it does is it puts you as the third party in the middle of these two individuals. And you're actually, when you go to someone and say, Shanita said, you're actually now creating more tension between these two parties. They're no longer listening to your feedback. They're focused on, well, why would she go to you and say that? Why didn't she say it to me? And that's not what I said. And because you weren't there, you're not actually able to have a healthy conversation in the feedback experience. So you always want to avoid saying, so-and-so said. If you cannot own the data, if you cannot own it in your own perspective, you shouldn't be sharing it. If you cannot observe for yourself through either watching it or inquiring by pulling the information from this individual, you shouldn't be sharing that information. You could potentially damage a relationship, not only theirs, but yours. So you always want to assume positive intent and use information as a data point. All right, hopefully that made sense. Now, the last two things I want to share with you guys are, remember, I said, when someone comes to you with third-party feedback, you have an option. You simply ask them, what do you want me to do with this information? What we just talked about was, one, if they want you to act on it, you want to make sure that you combine it with your insights, okay? All right, so the next thing you want to do, if you find yourself in a situation where people are giving you third-party feedback, and you ask that question, how would you like me to help you in this scenario? They might not need you to step in and go handle the feedback experience yourself. They might need help. So here's where I challenge you. When someone brings information to you, I always like to ask this question. I listen and then I say, have you shared that with them? Do they know you're feeling this way? Do your friends know that you are embarrassed about XYZ? Does your mother know that you feel frustrated every time she XYZ? Does your teacher know, right? Or does your student know that when they do XYZ, you have to challenge the person who's bringing you the feedback. By challenging them and simply asking them, what have you done with this? It builds in that accountability and that ownership that they need to have. Because if you jump in and try to save them and say, I can't believe that happened, I'm going to go talk to them on your behalf, you're not helping them build the skills, knowledge, and ability and the mindset, the mentality to be able to handle the feedback experience. Sometimes we jump in for our kids. Oh, I'll go talk to them on your behalf. Let me email your teacher. Let me go talk to this person, right? Allow people the opportunity to take full ownership and feel empowered about really going out and having that conversation on their own. And I see one of you say here, some people won't receive that challenge too well. You're absolutely right. You know why they won't receive it well? Because they're used to being saved by everyone around them. When someone runs to you with the frustration, you take it on and handle it for them. Or you do this third thing. I'm going to tell you what the last and final option is. When you are presented with third-party feedback and someone runs to you and says, guess what? Guess what just happened? So-and-so said, so-and-so did. You have the option to stand in for them and go handle their feedback. You have the second option of challenging them to handle it on their own. But the third and final option where you might find yourself is in a situation where both of you do nothing. And what I call that? Gossip. Where you find you're in a situation where people are just talking about people. It's not productive. It's not even, it's like, I can't believe they did this. Yeah, girl, I can't believe they did this. And you go back and forth, back and forth. If you ask the question, what do you want me to do with this? And it's not do something about it, either myself or you help me, you know then you're sitting in a situation where it's unhealthy, where you're just listening to gossip. Now I know I like me a good reality TV. I like a little gossip. But when you think about the feedback experience and you know that feedback is really the insight that helps people really move their trajectory, like really leverage those insights so that they can get better. What good does it serve you to sit there and reflect on, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that. And did you know? And did you know? Challenge yourself and challenge each other to say, well, what are we going to do about it? Because again, I've shared this in other talks before. I've had individuals who've shared with me they had blind spots. They didn't know that their intention was one thing, but their impact was another. And while their impact was really dire, if no one ever plays that back to them, how are they going to change their behavior? How are they going to get better? So I hope you found this helpful, guys. Again, quick recap. If you find yourself in a situation where someone's running to you with third party, they're trying to make you the third party in their feedback experience, and they bring information to you, ask them, what do you want my role to be? How can I help you? You can either help them by grabbing more insights and going into a conversation where you inquire, not accuse, where you ask questions and not assume. And if that information that you uncover is validated, then you can provide insight to that person and say, hey, how did you think your meeting went? Don't go and say, Shanita said your meeting finished terribly. Just say, how do you think the meeting went? And they can say, well, Shanita looked a little upset. And now you can say, well, tell me why. And now you don't have to go and say, well, Shanita did tell me she was upset. She came to my office right after. You don't have to say that. That's not productive, all right? So you have options. You can empower them to go have a conversation on their own, or you can lean in with them, ask a few more questions, and figure out how to have a coaching conversation by inquiring, not accusing. Or the third thing, you can see if you're sitting in a situation where you're now just in full gossip and not in a situation that is productive. So thank you guys for joining me today for our quick Feedback Friday on third-party feedback. I'd love to hear from you guys what else you want to hear. So feel free to post a note in the chat, DM me. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and of course here on Instagram. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. As you go into this weekend and you think about the election, I know that is on all of our minds. Put some good vibes out there. Cast your vote. Your voice matters. This is feedback, guys. Your vote is feedback. Tell the country what you want. Let's use our voices. We have the power. Don't waste it. Don't squander it. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this opportunity for us all to have the right. So I'll see you at the election box coming this week. Have a great weekend, guys. Take care.